What if the man who killed Caesar wasn't a traitor? What if he was the last person who truly believed in Rome? On the 15th of March, 44 BC, Marcus Junius Brutus walked into the Roman Senate, greeted Julius Caesar with a smile, and then helped stab him 23 times. History called it murder. Brutus called it surgery. He believed he was cutting out a cancer before it consumed everything Rome had ever been. He was wrong, and the price he paid for being wrong was everything. To understand Brutus, you have to understand what Rome meant to him. Not the buildings, not the empire, the idea. Brutus came from one of Rome's most ancient families. His ancestor, the original Brutus, had personally expelled the last king of Rome 5 centuries earlier, founding the republic that Brutus now served. Every morning, he woke up carrying that legacy. Every decision he made was filtered through one question: what would the republic require of me? He was, by every account, the most honourable man in Rome, disciplined, principled, incorruptible. Even Caesar himself once said that whatever Brutus wanted, he wanted for serious reasons. Caesar trusted him, genuinely trusted him, which is what made what happened next so devastating. Here is the part that doesn't make it into most history books. Brutus and Caesar were not enemies. They were, in many ways, father and son. Caesar had been a close friend of Brutus's father. When Brutus's father died in a political dispute, Caesar took an interest in the young man, mentored him, advanced his career, and even pardoned him after Brutus chose the wrong side in a civil war. Pardoned him, brought him back, gave him a province to govern. But then something shifted. By 45 BC, it was becoming clear that Caesar didn't just want to lead Rome, he wanted to be Rome. He was appointed dictator for life. Statues of him appeared in temples. A month was renamed in his honor, and at a public ceremony, his allies placed a crown on his head. He refused it. Twice. But he didn't refuse it very hard. Brutus spent months trying not to decide. He watched. He weighed. He wrote philosophy and told himself that perhaps it wouldn't come to this. Then the letters started arriving. Anonymous messages left on his chair, scratched onto his doorstep. Brutus, are you sleeping? Rome calls. Whether planted by conspirators or from genuine citizens, they worked. They reminded Brutus of his name and what his name demanded. Gaius Cassius Longinus provided the final push. Cassius was not a man of principle. He was a man of ambition, who understood that his plot needed a man of principle to lead it. He spent weeks working on Brutus, appealing not to his self-interest, but to his identity. You are the descendant of the man who freed Rome from kings. What would he do? Brutus crossed the line no one returns from. He said yes. The morning of March 15th, 44 BC, a soothsayer had warned Caesar, "Beware the Ides of March." A note was pressed into his hand, listing the names of the conspirators. He never read it. When Caesar arrived at the theatre of Pompey, 60 senators moved around him. One grabbed his toga. The first knife came from behind, then another, then another. Caesar fought. He was a soldier, he fought, until he saw who was among the men holding blades. He looked at Brutus and stopped fighting. The ancient writers recorded his last words differently. Suetonius said he pulled his toga over his face and said nothing. Others recorded the Greek, "Kai su teknon," you too, child. 23 stab wounds, only one was fatal. The rest were from senators who wanted to share the guilt or the glory. Brutus made sure to stab Caesar himself. He wanted Rome to see that this was not murder. This was a verdict. Brutus had planned the assassination with extraordinary care. He had planned almost nothing that came after it. The conspirators assumed that once Caesar was dead, Rome would exhale, that the Senate would reconvene, that gratitude would follow, that the Republic would simply resume. They were catastrophically wrong. Mark Antony delivered Caesar's funeral oration. He was allowed to speak. Brutus permitted it, trusting in the rule of law, trusting that no one could alter facts with words. It was the final expression of his fatal optimism. Antony didn't argue. He read Caesar's will, which left money and gardens to every Roman citizen. He held up Caesar's blood-soaked toga and pointed to each tear made by each blade. He turned a political assassination into a personal grief that 70 million people felt simultaneously. Rome didn't celebrate, Rome burned. The conspirators' houses were attacked. Brutus and Cassius fled the city within days. For 2 years, Brutus and Cassius raised armies in the east, trying to build enough force to face Antony and Octavian, Caesar's heir, in the field. They met at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BC. 2 battles, in fact. In the first, Brutus's forces actually broke through Octavian's line. They were winning. Then word came. Cassius, on the other flank, had misread the battlefield. Believing everything was lost, he ordered his own slave to kill him. The second battle, 3 weeks later, was a rout. Brutus fled with a handful of men into the hills above the battlefield. He asked each of them in turn to hold a sword while he ran onto it. Each one refused. Finally, he asked his friend Strato. Strato held the sword. Brutus ran. He was 42 years old. Antony, standing over the body of Brutus, covered it with his finest purple cloak and ordered a dignified funeral. He called Brutus the only truly honourable man among all the conspirators. History agreed. Eventually, Shakespeare gave Brutus the famous eulogy. This was the noblest Roman of them all, not Caesar, Brutus. And yet, the republic that Brutus died to save never returned. What rose in its place was the very thing he had tried to prevent, an empire ruled by one man, with no Senate that could challenge him. Brutus's knife had not saved Rome from monarchy. It had merely replaced one would-be king with another who was better at the game. The most honourable man in Rome committed the most famous political act in history. And the only thing it achieved was to prove how easily a republic can be lost by the people who love it most. He saved the republic from Caesar. He just couldn't save it from what came next. Subscribe. The next empire is already falling. Next episode, the general who conquered half the known world and was poisoned by the men he trusted with the other half.